Disadvantages. Demerits of direct production. So one of the disadvantages is that there is no revenue. Low revenue to the government and low incomes to the producers. So our producers, we have seen that usually they have very little or absolutely nothing to take to the market. So whatever little, whatever surplus they have and goes to the market, the incomes they obtain are usually very low. And from those low incomes, government also gets low revenue in form of taxes. And we need more taxes or plenty of taxes in order for the government to carry out its public expenditure on public goods and services. So if the majority of our people are subsistence producers, this is going to deny the government of the desired revenue, and the whole society at large won't be having a sufficient supply of the public goods and services. Then it leads to low economic growth. Leads to low economic growth. Economic growth leads to low economic growth. Why? Because of the limited output of commodities or products. Limited output of commodities or products. We see that they are producing for their own needs, for home needs, own needs, and we find that for economic growth, it is the persistent increase in the volume of goods and services from one time to another or from one period to another. But you find that this persistent growth from as a subsistence producer or a direct producer is not going to be very large. It's not going to be voluminous, and for that matter, you are going to have a low rate of economic growth in terms of the quantity of goods and services produced in a given period of time. Let's say a year. So that quantitative increase in the production of volume of goods and services tends to be very low where we are involved or engaged in direct production. Then it limits innovations and inventions because in most cases there is no competition. Limits inventions and innovations. Why? Due to lack of competition. Due to lack of competition. Families don't compete among themselves in the production of food. No. If you fail to get enough food this season, you can even be assisted by your neighboring family. They can bail you out. If your potatoes didn't come out nicely, they can assist you with a surplus of theirs, and so there is no competition in production as far as the direct production is concerned. So people don't involve in inventing new methods of production or even improving on what they have, as they see no need of creating that kind of expense. And since again there is no competition, we find that it leads to production of poor quality, to production of low quality output, low quality output. This is because of the unskilled labor the labor is unskilled. We have poor tools being used. There is no competition. All these factors contribute to the low quality of the final output. Then leads to higher levels of underemployment. Leads to high levels of underemployment, meaning that many resources, not only underemployment but also disguised under and disguised employment. Disguised underemployment and disguised unemployment. People pretend to be working. You'll be having a family of around 15 people, but they're all operating on a piece of land which is just an acre. And their productivity and marginal product for that matter is either zero or negative. So when you come to that kind of calculation, you find that some laborers will have been moved and yet you could be retaining even a higher level of output. So you find that in this kind of direct production, since people only mind about what is going to be satisfactory for their own needs or for their own satisfaction, they leave a lot of room for people to be underutilized or underemployed, not working to their maximum or utmost potential in as far as giving out their work effort is concerned. Then there is a high degree of resource underutilization. Leads to underutilization, like we saw in our PPF, they operate inside their PPF. Leads to underutilization of resources. The capacity is there, but they are not exploiting capacity to the maximum as there is no need. The little they are producing is enough for their home needs, so no need to exploit resources to misuse or have a surplus that is not wanted at all. Leads to underutilization of resources. And also, another advantage is there is limited or no specialization, and because of that lack of specialization, it leaves a lot to be desired in terms of quality, low quality and quantity. Since in specialization, chances are high of using better machines, and with better machines, they always improve on the quality and they also increase the quantity. But under the direct production, you find that this is not possible. You are going to remain with a poor quality and nobody is going to be complaining. From there, we can have a question which is arising out of an observation over a long period of time, that even if direct production is not so good, but it is still being practiced by many people the world over. And what are the reasons for that? So this gives us the subheading of reasons why direct production is dominant. Reasons why direct production is dominant in, more especially, developing countries. Developing why direct production is dominant in the developing countries. Reason number one is limited capital. We would want to produce on a large scale, but the capital that can assist us either to expand on our land, to expand on our production entities is not there. So limited capital for expansion on a commercial basis. This capital may be in form of money, may be in form of skilled laborers, or it may be machines. So all types of capital, human, physical, and liquid, are limited in the developing countries. That's why we are still having an economy predominated by subsistence or direct producers. Then we have low levels of skills. Low levels of skills or low education levels. The literacy levels in the developing countries are still very low by comparison with the developed countries, and for that matter, if you have to go in for commercial or direct production, you need better skills to harness the sophisticated machines and to operate them, and also understand on the research basis which may be required for the large kind of production. All these are not there. Our levels of education are still low, hence giving us low level of skilled laborers who can adequately handle small levels of production, which are subsistence or small scale or direct production for that nature. Then high level of conservatism. We have a high level of conservatism. People don't want to change. People don't want changes. They are used to the old good days. Those old good days of theirs are not changed. So there's that kind of conservatism, no change. And we are living in a changing world. But there are those people who are anti-change. And for that matter, they are used to the old ways of doing things. And those old ways should be the ones that should still be going on. And this leads us to remain with the predominance of direct production or subsistence production as a result of many of our people being conservative. And that is again brought about by the high degree of ignorance of whatever case and the high levels of or limited education among the people. They resist change simply because of their ignorance. Then another reason is the poor infrastructure. People would have wanted to produce on a large scale, but the roads, storage, power are still a problem in many of the developing countries. You may be producing on large scale, and maybe you are dealing in perishable commodities, and the storage is not there to preserve them. So that's why you continue producing only what is enough for your own consumption, and you don't go commercial. You may be able to produce on large scale, but the roads are not all weather. At one season they are not passable, and there you are stuck with your output and not being able to reach the market. Some production requires energy and power, but this is on and off. It's not reliable, and in most cases discouraging investors. So those investors who may have had the capital and may have been interested in establishing commercial or large-scale ventures, the power factor discourages them, and hence continuing to support the small scale producers or the direct producers. Another reason is the small market. Small market or limited market. Limited market. Why? Because most of the people, again in the developing countries, they produce the same commodities. And each is a producer, so who is going to be the consumer? This brings about a limitation in the market for those products, and when you produce on a large scale and fail to sell the other season or the other time, next time, you'll be not engaging in the production of that commodity in large quantities. You produce only what is enough, as the market for a large level of output is not there. Then we have also talked about the poor technology. Poor technology or methods of production. Methods of production. We have seen that they are mainly using the rudimentary, out of date methods of production of machines, and these are the ones which are available: the hand, the hoe, and the panga. If you look at our farmer in the village, in a homestead, these will limit his levels of production. The methods that he uses in the production process to come out with a produced good backward and inefficient, hence making us to remain as the subsistence or direct producers for that matter. So these are the reasons as to why direct production is dominant in the developing countries. We are mainly producing on a small scale for our own use, for our own consumption, because of the limited money, limited capital, limited skilled labor, and limited machines, and low levels of skills, low levels of education. We don't have the acumen, we don't have the skills, we don't have the ability to handle and manage large entities of production. High levels of conservatism. People are anti-change. They don't want to change to whatever is new or unknown. They fear the unknown and they stick to what they have been used to, which is the small scale production. The poor infrastructure in form of cold storage and so on, they also hamper the progressing into commercial production. The small market is a discouragement to many people. You may produce on large quantity or a commercial basis only to end up with a lot of your output unsold. And this is a wastage of resources and discouragement to further production. The poor technology or methods of production are also another factor, whereby the methods make you to be less productive and less efficient, and you remain a subsistence or a direct producer. So that was direct production, its features, its merits, demerits, and why it has dominated in many of the developing countries. We look at many countries in Africa, in Asia, Latin America, and they are still practicing direct production on a large scale. And those are the accounting features. So our second type of production, we said if it is not direct, then it is indirect. Indirect production. It is also known as commercial or market production. And as we started with direct production, we also need to define this one. So this refers to the production of goods and services for sale in order to make a profit. Production of goods services for sale in order to make a profit. In order to make profit. So you are producing goods and services that are to be sold, and after selling, you look forward for a profit. You need to have something in return for your effort as an enterprising person. Is it profitable? And if you evaluate as that's not profitable, then you can switch over to another kind of business. You find that in the first case we saw people like building your own house, but now if you are a commercial person, you build for others. You are known as you get contracts and you work on large scale for other people. If it is farming, you are no longer growing food for your own personal use, but you grow for other people and they'll be buying at the market. And again, as we shall see, medium of exchange, which is money, is always there. If it is you are a tailor, you are no longer making clothes for yourself and your family, you become a commercial tailor, and other people are going to be using your services, not only benefiting your home. So what are the features? What are the characteristics? We have production is on a large scale. Production is on a large scale. Why? Because you produce for the market. Produce for sale, not on consumption. Then there is use of better methods of production. Better methods of production, which may be modern technology. Modern technology. Quality of output is high. Quality of output is high. Why? Because of the competition on the market. Because of the competition for the market. Your quality has to be satisfactory to the people that are buying your products. Otherwise, you are not the only supplier on the market, and the consumer has a right to choose which commodity is best for satisfying him or giving him the highest utility, other than simply consuming what is available and that kind of thing. Then, not only that, the labor employed is usually skilled. Skilled laborers, skilled labor, and these are account for the efficiency, account for the high efficiency and productivity. High efficiency and productivity. So if the laborers are skilled, then they're going to be highly efficient. They know what to do. They don't need to be supervised. They know what is their role in the production process. They don't need to be pushed around, and they are going to give you their utmost. So there is specialization in the production process. You don't produce each and everything. You have to pick out. There is specialization with all its advantages. Specialization where you pick one or few. Pick one or a few activities, but not all. Pick one or a few activities, but not engaging in each and everything, like we have seen in the direct production. Then exchange. Exchange is basically carried out using money. Exchange is basically carried out using money, not barter, like we saw under the direct production. And production involves a lot of research, and innovations for better outputs. So those are the common features under direct production, and if you can compare with direct production, indirect production is characterized by production on a large scale, using of better methods of production, quality of output being high, employment of skilled labor, and we see the reasons why. Then specialization, not doing everything and not leaving out any. Then exchange, basically carried out using money. We find that very little may be exchanged using the barter. Usually money is the master in the exchange of these goods, and production involves a lot of research and innovations for the purpose of getting better levels of output. Let's look at the merits of such a kind of production. Merits or advantages. What advantages are there? Usually these advantages, they can also be derived from the features. Whatever feature is good, in most cases it turns out to be an advantage. So from the features, if you are stuck in an exam and you want to get the advantages, you are free to get them, but you can recall the features, just convert a feature and it becomes an advantage. So merits, all advantages of indirect production. Seen that there is competition for the market, so definitely one advantage is to do with the quality or levels of output. So there are high levels of output. Why? Because of specialization. Which we saw as a feature. Firms are specializing. Why also? Because of using better technology. Technology is modern, and also we have skilled labor in the house. Skilled labor is available. So all these account for the high levels of output. Not only is the output of a high level, but it's also a high quality. High quality, again, because of specialization, technology, the same factors may account for the quality and maybe the existence of a large market or many consumers. Then contributes revenue to the government. Contributes revenue to the government. How? Because you are able to sell a large level of output and you are able to get a high income, and from that high income, government can always be able to realize high taxes. Then promotes specialization. Promotes specialization, which was not the case under direct production. Here you pick on one venture and you become an expert in that, and you leave out the other, and you are able to supply adequately your market. Then promotes the development of infrastructure. Promotes the development of infrastructure. Because you need to go to the market, you need to bring in raw materials, then you are going to be having better transport methods available. Then accelerates the rate of economic growth. Accelerates the rate of economic growth. Rate of economic growth. How? Because of the high levels of output. Economic growth deals with quantities, and now the quantities are high because you are engaged in direct production. Then increases resource utilization. Increases resource utilization. Unlike under direct production, where you need small for your own use, here you are producing for a bigger consumer market, and you need more resources. If it is land, you employ more land. If it is imports, you buy more imports so that you are able to have a big supply that is going to adequately cater for the market. Then encourages technological development. Encourages technological development. Why? You need modern methods of production in order to come out with better quality goods, in order to come out with high levels of output. And if you are not innovative and inventive, then you are going to be left out. Your commodities will not be sold. Then this kind of production improves our balance of payments position. Improves the balance of payments position of a country. Balance of payments of a country. How? Through large volumes of exports. Because we are producing for the market, it is not only the internal market within your country, you can also sell outside of your country. And whenever you sell outside, you are able to have foreign exchange earned, which foreign exchange is used to buy whatever you cannot produce for yourself or to pay for your imports. Demerits. Demerits now follow. Or disadvantages. Disadvantages of direct production. One factor we know is that it is expensive. It is expensive. How? You have to hire skilled laborers, higher skilled labor, buy modern machines, buy modern machines, incur transport charges, etc., which was not the case under the direct production. Here, all these incur a cost, or they require you to pay something, and it is making it expensive for the producer. It leads to resource wastage. Unlike in direct production, where there was underutilization of resources, here resources are wasted in case you overestimate in case you overestimate the market potential. Overestimation of the market. You may plan for a bigger market and you end up being disappointed only to reach the market. You are not the supplier and there is an abundance of that same good on the market, which leads to wastage of our scarce resources. And sometimes the consumers' tastes and preferences change, and you find that they may not be in for your outdated product. They want something new which has appeared on the market, and you end up wasting the resources. It leads to technological unemployment. How? Because of the need to have high levels of output, which are even of a better quality, machines replace people. In the production process. So where people were working, now the employer or the investor is using machines, and one machine can do the work of 100 people, so the 99 are going to be rendered unemployment because of the advancement in technology, which is not the case in the direct production. There is quick depletion of resources. Other than wasting them, but they are also quickly depleted. Quick depletion or exhaustion of resources. Why? Because of the market. Demands. So the market demands are high, and you go back and tap the resource potential, which may in the long run lead to their depletion. Then leads to diseconomies of scale. These are simply the disadvantages of large-scale production. Disadvantages of large-scale production. You produce on a large scale, you find that it becomes difficult for you to supervise, to monitor each and every department, and there may be problems that may lead to you incurring higher costs. You need to employ a supervisor, you need a person for transport, you need at least each department may need a specialist, which is making your cost to increase in the long run, and it becomes a diseconomy or scale. So it is expensive, leads to resource wastage. Then in case of change in demand, tastes and preferences, you find that resources are wasted. Technological unemployment is inevitable. Then if the raw materials quick depletion of resources, and also diseconomies of scale. Those are the major disadvantages. Issues. Limitations of indirect production, meaning that many of us would have wanted to venture into commercial or market production, but what are the factors hindering our taking on that kind of production? One of the limited market. Limited market. The market is not available for all of us to be commercial producers. Then we also have the factor of limited capital. Not all of us have access to enough capital to operate on a large scale. Then the poor infrastructure. Poor infrastructure that becomes a bottleneck in the movement of goods to the market. Then limited labor skills. Limited labor skills. We find that most of the developing countries have high levels of illiteracy or limited education, and this leaves us to direct production more other than the indirect production. Then the poor technology. Poor technology. We have poor technology in existence, and this cannot allow us to venture into the indirect production. If you look at our antenna system, it's also not very friendly. People who own the land may not be using it, and this limits the operation into large scale, and political instabilities in some areas. Political instability in some areas. Some people remain small-scale producers because their areas are under attack, and should not forget the limited entrepreneurial abilities. Entrepreneurial skills. People who have skills of management and organization of large entities are not so many in the developing countries. Not only that, there is a lot of conservatism. Conservatism among many people. Conservatism among many people in our countries. So if you look at this,